Okay, cool. We're recording. We're good. Okay, here we go, folks.
Good luck.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lat Mackey, and this is Sequence Break. Bonus update. I'm not sure what I'm calling this thing, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the podcast and kind of bring everyone up to speed on kind of what's been happening in life and everything like that and how it's going to affect the podcast. Don't worry, nothing is changing. The podcast is saying the podcast, but there are some things that have happened in my real life that have made the podcast just a little bit more challenging to try to fit everything into the time allotted that I have in a single day. First things first, super huge thank you to everyone who has subscribed on their podcast feed to this podcast, everyone who's been watching on YouTube. Honestly, I can't thank you all enough for all the support you have shown for this podcast, this little venture I started about a year ago now. We're not quite a year, actually, probably about 10 months or so. I can't thank you all enough for being so supportive of what I've been trying to do and just enjoying the conversations and being supportive of me trying to support the community. So I just wanted to say thank you. Anytime that you share this or review it or subscribe to it, it honestly goes a long way. I would like to keep doing this for like ever. And the more support there is for the podcast, the more I can do that. So thank you for doing that. I really do appreciate it. Secondly, what's my life like? Okay, so this is kind of the reason that I wanted to record an episode like this, to kind of let everyone know what's been happening, because so far I've been releasing something every week. Not every release has been like a numbered episode. Some of the releases are kind of some experiments and some other things that I try out and see if they fit into the podcast somewhere. But almost every week we have something released. You may have noticed that a couple of weeks have been a couple of days late on the release of the podcast. And that's for a bunch of different reasons. One of the things right now is that when I record an episode of the podcast with a guest, I really try to work around their schedule. I've been fortunate up until about 2 months ago. I was a full-time freelancer and for like months, all of us have been on quarantine. So I've been able to schedule around other people's schedules. So unfortunately, we haven't had like a regular date where we stream or we live record the podcast. So like if somebody's available on Saturday at 9 a.m., I'm going to record them on Saturday at 9 a.m. Or, sometimes it's been real late, like the Sven episode, which is one of my faves. I had to record it at midnight. I just started recording at midnight because in Sweden, that's 9 a.m. there. And Sven was awesome about being accommodating of those time constraints. So that's a little bit behind the scenes of kind of how it works. And the thing that's changed, about 2 months ago, I got a day job. And it's been a while since I've had a full-time job where I had to like be somewhere at 7 a.m. or something like that. And I'm a full-time teacher, but I'm also keeping some of my freelance clients. I do freelance content creation, video production, that kind of stuff, did a lot of design stuff. And so the trying to fit all of this in at the same time has been a bit of a challenge, as you may already realize. On top of that, I'm in grad school. So I am trying to get a master's degree in education, and I'd really like to continue teaching content creation, game design, those type of things. And I'm really enjoying so far the first couple of months I've spent teaching in high school, and I'd like to continue that process, and therefore I'm getting my master's degree. And as you can imagine, you got to wonder, when do you find time to like stream and to speed run and to volunteer for all the things I like doing and recording a podcast? Whew. I just get exhausted saying it out loud. So I'm trying to manage all that stuff. And all I'm saying is that there may be a week or two where the podcast comes out a little bit late. That's basically all I'm trying to say. The last two recordings I've done, the one that was with Runner Guy, and who was before Runner Guy? Whichever one was the one before that. The Beast. We did those on Sundays. And I think I'm going to try to continue, if I can, doing the recording sessions live on Sunday on my own personal Twitch channel, Lat Mackey. And that is because it's been nice having some people in the chat, like actually ask questions and make it a little bit more interactive. So the best that I can, I'm going to try my best to like keep Sundays as the podcast day. That being said, I want to be very accommodating of the guest. I've been super fortunate that nearly everyone I've asked, I've only had a few people who haven't said yes to do the podcast. And so as long as they're saying yes, I want to work around their schedules. And there are a fair amount of guests that are coming up that I'm super excited about. I'm really thankful for all the people who've already been on the podcast. And so I want to, but it would be cool if we could, all be here a little bit more live to interact and maybe ask the guests questions and things like that. So we'll see how that goes. Like everything, who knows if it's going to stay on Sundays, but I would love if it can. I know that that's one of the few times now I have a couple of free hours to do this thing. So as much as I can, I will continue to try to keep that schedule. All that being said, I appreciate you understanding that if an episode comes out a few days late or maybe a week late, you understand why. I've got some things going on. One of the things I want to talk about is there's been a lot of awesome events happening. One of the interesting things about quarantine in the speedrunning community is that we've seen basically every event has had to go online, but every event has still been going. And so it seems like every weekend there has been something awesome happening in the speedrunning community. This weekend, I spent a lot of time watching the Big 20. And if you didn't watch, holy cow, was it an awesome showcase. It was so great seeing so many speedrunners from some speedrunners who've been speedrunning for 10 years, some who just started speedrunning, learn 20 games and try to speedrun. Now, you didn't have to complete every game. Some of the games just had like get to level 4 or something like that. It was still a lot of fun. And if you get a chance, go back and watch. It's on Best of NES Twitch channel. Go back and watch their coverage of it. Was awesome. The commentators did a great job, and it was just a really well put together and really fun race to watch. I really enjoyed a lot of it, and it was nice. I was doing grad work at the time, and it was nice to have that on while I was doing the work as well. But on top of that, I mean, we just had GDQ, we've had ESA go online, Calithon. Every single weekend, it seems like there's some awesome event happening in the speedrunning community, and once again, trying to find like some of the positive things that have happened in this quarantine. Because I think on the flip side of that, I don't know. I've been feeling this, and just to get like real and honest for a minute, it's been really tough, like not seeing people and like not hanging out, and just especially if you like really enjoy being around family and friends and things like that. This whole quarantine thing can really take an effect on you. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's been nice to have some events like that where we can gather together in a virtual space. It makes me really, really, really miss spending some time with people in a live setting. And I'm super thankful and fortunate to have some really great family and friends who have been supportive of each other while doing all this thing. Like I got a chance to see my parents last week, and just things like that where you get to spend some time with some people. It really helps. And I'm super fortunate. I'm married to a great woman who we've been supporting each other through this thing. And it's probably why I've ended up doing all these things where I work and I grad school and I podcast and I freelance, just all that at once, because try to take your mind off of not being able to be around people. So I guess all that being said is that we just saw the announcement that AGDQ is going to be online as well. And I was, for a project I'm working on, I was looking through some of the Games Done Quick pictures, and it makes me really thankful, first of all, for all the time that I've gotten to spend and meet so many wonderful people in this community. But then on the flip side of that, man, I can't wait to see them all again and, grab some pizza, have a beverage, adult Diet Coke, whatever it is your thing is, and spend some time with them, because I do miss it. And that's been kind of weighing on me a little bit. And I know we're going to get through this, and at some point there will be something. It may take a while before we see a live event, but RPG Limit Break was, it postponed, all that kind of stuff. It's just, man, I can't wait for this stuff to come back and see everyone again, and, just say hi to people. Holy cow. Okay. Another couple of topics here to go over during this update, and some interesting experiences I've had in the last couple of weeks. For those of you that may or may not be aware, there are tool-assisted speedruns are, speedruns that where you can enter an input in a game frame by frame, and sometimes you can enter multiple inputs at the same time, do some things that weren't originally designed for a console and a person to be doing. If you ever go watch any sort of task of a game that you love, and you'll just be blown away at how amazing some of the things that taskers can do. I've been fortunate that in the TurboGrafx 16 community, there is a really great dialogue between some of the people who task TurboGrafx 16 games. Memory tasks and easy games come to mind right away, and also the RTA runners. There's not many of us who speedrun TurboGrafx 16 games. So the fact that there is this great relationship with helping each other out and strats like that, it warms my heart, but it makes me thankful because it makes me a better speedrunner. Recently, Easy Games just released a new task for Alice in Wonder Dream, which is a game that I speedrun. Yes, I know, you've never heard of some of these games. It's okay. If you go back and listen to the Epic Neon Ninja Monkey episode, we talk a little bit about Alice in Wonder Dream. Yes, Uberfunk, TaskBot is the best bot. Completely agree with you. And that gives me a chance to really, there's a great episode I did with Memory Tasks and a great episode I've done with Durango AC. Great episodes about tasking, and I highly recommend if you haven't listened to them yet. A lot of great info. But what I was trying to get at is that there's, Easy Games, through his tasking, discovered some strats that are actually viable for a person to do in an RTA run, which is like great and awesome. And the first thing he does is he posts it in the TurboGrafx 16 Discord. Myself, Epic Neon Ninja Monkey, and some others have recently been considering running the game, and please do. Aquas, if you're looking for a 12-hour challenge, it's a good game. Okay. So it's been great to learn some of the things and realize that there's still a fair amount of time left on the table in a game. That the last run that Epic Neon Ninja Monkey did that was world record was a really well executed run, and the fact that the taskers Easy Games discovered some new stuff was really exciting, and it's really been kind of fun to just see that collaboration happening again. Many communities do have this collaboration between people who task and also the speedrunners, the RTA speedrunners. I just feel like this is one that's affected me the most, so I've been a big fan of it. I've recently been doing all Bonk games on the TurboGrafx 16, Bonk 1, 2, and 3, as a trilogy run. And once again, going back to the tasks and seeing what memory tasks and seeing what Easy Games did in their tasks has actually been really helpful for some routing in Bonk 3. Bonk 3 is probably the least optimized game we have right now, RTA wise. Great John's the world record holder, and it's just something he started playing. He used the tasks, and so there's still a lot of things that are left on the table there that we want to try that Memory Task did. So excited to jump back in and give it a try. Always thankful for the community that is. And just wanted to point it out there that if you're ever interested in speedrunning or tasking, either one, you can you can participate in this community by doing so. Many people may not realize just how much behind the scenes stuff goes on in building a task run. I know I didn't. Now carry on. Well, thank you, Uberfunk. No, that's so true. One of the things that Durango and Memory both touched upon was that tasking, people who commit themselves to tool-assisted speedruns, it is a whole separate skill set, and a lot of it has to do with patience and being able to try multiple things and dealing with things like desyncing, and that's why these tool-assisted speedruns take so long to put together. It is not an easy feat, and you have to dedicate yourself to them, and oh my gosh, does it take some time and some patience. Which, as speedrunners, we do have some of that patience and time, but we want to go through things as fast as we possibly can. And when you're tasking, it's trial and error, you're trying this and that. And so it's pretty awesome what ends up happening out of the whole thing. I did want to mention, I don't typically cover a lot of speedrunning news and things like that, just because there's so much of it happening all the time. But a game that I've talked about on the podcast, a game that is perhaps my favorite speedrun to perform, is Splatterhouse on the TurboGrafx 16. For years now, Zallard 1 has held the world record with a sub 13, and it's you watch his run, and I just thought, man, there's a few seconds here and there that he can shed. But I got to give a big, huge congratulations to Stormcrow 56K, who I think beat it by 7 or 8 seconds. And so first of all, to have a new runner and a runner who just beat the world record that's been held for like years from the one and only Zallard 1 is just awesome. But if you don't know who Stormcrow is, he's just a really talented speedrunner, and he's run a lot of the Splatterhouse games now. He has world record in Splatterhouse 2, Splatterhouse Wampaku Graffiti. What's next? I don't know. I don't even know if he's actually taken on Splatterhouse 3, but I wanted to give a huge shout out because it's a speedrun that I love, and he's discovered he did some things in the run that we kind of knew were possible, but he actually executed them in the run, which is always cool to see. Always want to support friends. If I'm gonna shamelessly shill out the podcast again, there's an episode with Stormcrow 56K. I think he was one of the first few guests that was on the podcast, and he talks a little bit about his process and stuff because he's so chill and relaxed, yet he is so dedicated to driving these times down and performing at a high level. So congrats, Stormcrow, and just want to give you a quick shout out for a great game and from a world record holder who's had it for years. And then finally, I wanted to give, I've been playing through a bunch of games recently. And it's funny because I haven't been streaming as much. I probably am only streaming once or twice a week right now. Most of it's because of the work thing and school thing. But on the flip side of it, I've been playing some games casually that have been really enjoyable. And I wanted to share some of those in case you were looking for some game or something inspiration, something to do if you have some free time in gaming. The first one I did actually stream, and it's called Zelda: The Missing Link. And it is a hack of kind of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. And we just recently had on Runner Guy on the podcast. If you haven't listened to that episode, it's wonderful, sharing some stories and stuff like that. Runner Guy did a great job sharing a bunch of stuff from Ocarina of Time and other Zelda games. But this ROM hack is unlike it's unlike any ROM hack I've played so far. And I haven't played a ton of them, but what this does is it tells a story, first of all. It tells a story of bridging what happens at the end of Ocarina of Time into Majora's Mask. I don't want to spoil it so that you can enjoy the story yourself, but it tells that story in that time period, in that universe. And some of the interesting things they did gameplay and mechanic wise. First of all, they designed an entirely new level. They have an entirely new boss in it. Like, they did all this really cool stuff that it's by Kaze, by the way, who's the chief, the spearhead of the project. And it's on his YouTube channel. If you want to check it out, I cannot recommend it enough. But they added some mechanics that may have been in some beta versions, and they took some of the like the tweaks and some of the kind of cool enhancement Majora's Mask had, and they put them in this. And just like a simple thing, like your sword has beams in it, so you can shoot your sword. Something simple like that. It's really cool and adds a really interesting and new dimension. It literally feels like a new Ocarina of Time game. And I say that with a very high praise, because if you did listen to the Runner Guy episode, I talk about Ocarina of Time is my favorite game of all time. I am playing through it again. I probably play through the game once or twice a year. I've never learned a speedrun of it. I don't know if I ever will, because I just enjoy the experience of the game so much. I've been playing recently through the 3DS version, the Beta Quest. I'm sorry, the Master Quest. They call it the Master Quest. And if you haven't, I wanted to highly recommend that too, because it runs at a full 30 frames a second. The game just looks beautiful on the 3DS. I don't know how they changed some of the detail in the games and the shading and stuff. So there are areas that are just, in my opinion, so they're really well lit. And so the way that my eyes perceive things, it's a little bit easier to see some of these sections in the game on the 3DS version. As I was playing through The Missing Link, this new ROM hack, which came out a couple of months ago now, but as I was playing through it, I had to adjust my TV. It's been so long since I played Ocarina of Time on an N64. There are some really dark areas, and with some of those earlier N64 graphics, it's a little bit challenging to see sometimes what's in water and stuff like that. So I really appreciated as playing through I've played the 3DS version before, but I got to tell you, that might be my preferred version of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask nowadays. There's some quality of life stuff. I actually enjoy using the motion controls to aim the bow and arrow and stuff like that. They did a really good job with porting the game over. They obviously put in the time, and Nintendo, if you ever want to, port something over to the newer consoles, I gotta tell you, I'm all in. I hate that I don't hate it. There have been some really good remakes that have really hit my nostalgia bubble hard. I recently played through the Final Fantasy VII remake, and there are some clunker parts of it, some of it where it's kind of boring and stuff like that, but they hit the nostalgia vibe so well. It really feels like, it reminds me of what it was like to first play through Final Fantasy on the PlayStation way back when, late 90s, what is that, 20-something years ago now. And I appreciate game companies for doing that. I know it's a business. They're trying to make money. They have gotten my bucks out of me, but I got to tell you, I've been enjoying it. So I wanted to throw that out there. And the other game that I've played through casually that has been out for a while now, but I want to thank Alaskan Emily for donating this one. And this was The Beginner's Guide. And it's a short playthrough. It's a narrative experience. And I really can't say too much more about that. I guess what I can say is that the game starts off with a narrator who tells you that he is a game designer, and that the game on the surface kind of feels like it's about designing a game. And it's a narrative experience. I'm going to leave it there. If you've ever played the game, maybe we could talk about it at some point. I kind of almost want to do a whole episode on it, because I am 2 or 3 weeks after playing the game now, and I'm still thinking about it. It's one of those games that just leaves you I had the same experience when I played through BioShock and BioShock Infinite. I don't know if anybody feels this way about those games, but there are games that I continue to think about some of the themes and some of the choices I had to make in the game, even after I'm done playing the game. And I really appreciate when things like that are designed into a game. They really, oh man, they hit all the feels, and I just really enjoyed the experience and wanted to share that and some of the things that I've been playing. So if you're looking for some games to play, if you're feeling like something a little more serious, go with the beginner's guide. It's only a couple hours. It's a short playthrough. And then if you're looking for something fun and you enjoy anything on the N64, let me highly recommend Zelda: The Missing Link. It's a fantastic ROM hack, and I actually did ask the designer to come on the podcast. Unfortunately, he's unable to, but man, I would love to know what went into making the game. And he does a commentary. The designer does a commentary on his YouTube channel that I highly recommend, because it actually does answer a lot of questions about things that they did and choices they made, and what the development process is like for making a game. With all that being said, folks, I want to just thank everyone again for all the support you've shown for the podcast. Tons of guests still lined up, and there are too many guests to get through. There's so many people I'd love to continue to talk to in this format, and we'll continue to do so as long as people keep saying yes. So thanks for taking the time. Thanks for listening this week. I appreciate it, and I know you're going to enjoy the next episode. I can already tell you it's Angry Lanks, and we're going to talk some Contra. We're going to have some fun. It should be a good time. Thanks again, everyone, for listening, and I will see you in the next one.